Facebook world. This is Dr. Kaveh Lahyun coming to you guys live with another yet fantastic interview. Today we have Dr. Andrea Lamont. She's joining us especially with regards to a book that she has written, which will be amazing to discuss today. Hopefully we can get her on and get this interview going. And I'm super excited for today's guest. When you see the interviews, give us a like, give us a love, share, and we try to get the message out to the public as much as we can, hopefully in helping everybody making proper decisions. If you worry about this little mustache of mine, in Canada we have Movember, which is a month in support of cancer research. So it's for prostate cancer. If you guys see a little fuzz on my lip, it's just because of Movember. Anyway, hopefully we can add her on. There we go. Fantastic. Now we're going to be able to have a chat with Dr. Lamont. Hopefully, we're just in the process of adding her. Fantastic.
I think we're here.
Can you see me?
Am I here?
Here we go. Fantastic. How are we?
There we go. Good. We got on.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the time from your busy schedule and coming on with us to this Facebook Live. Please give us an introduction. Let us know what you are, who you are, where you are, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so my name is Dr. Andrea Nazarenko. I am a community psychologist. So watchers are probably like, what's a community psychologist? I've never heard of that before. So basically, community psychologists are psychologists who believe that in order to change individuals' health, whether we're talking about physical health or emotional health, or mental health, we could focus on changing individuals, or we could look at the system within which the individuals are living and say, maybe it's not just a couple of bad apples, maybe we have a bad barrel, and change the system. So my husband's a chiropractor. Chiropractic is my passion. Natural healthcare in general, I should say, is my passion, and really getting to the root cause of illness and disease. And so I believe that we could do better in this system. I believe that we could create a healthcare system where people are actually healthy. Imagine that. That's a crazy notion, that we're not just taking more prescriptions and drugs to try to achieve symptom-free living, but an actual health. And so that's what I do. That's what I'm committed to. It's changing the shape of our healthcare system.
So if I may call you Dr. Andrea, we always believe behind every successful man is a very smart woman. That's my firm belief, and I have always advocated for that. Please let us know how you came about writing the book, and what was the passion within you trying to convey the message to the public through that book.
Yeah, well, it's a really great question, and it really, like all things we do, I think it starts with yourself. And I personally struggled gut health issues. The story that my gut health issues started were in late college, but my problems started at birth. I was personally vaccine injured as a child, but we didn't know about vaccine injuries, back then. We recognized that it was vaccine related, but it wasn't the deal it is now. And then, in 5th grade, they thought I had brain cancer, and I lived on the children's oncology ward for many days, and it was terrible for me, but I think it was even worse for my parents, who believed that this is going to be their life. Their wow. Little daughter has brain cancer. And then in college, I became sick again. And what it all traced back to, it was, after thousands and thousands of dollars of testing and invasive testing and going the whole route of the traditional medical model, for the brain tumor incident, they told me to take 4 extra strength Tylenol. That was their solution. And it wasn't until we walked into a chiropractor's office that the chiropractor said, I see what's going on with you. you have some issues going on, and I was subluxated, and he noted food was my problem. And back then food wasn't something, gut health, the microbiome didn't, we weren't aware of it. There was no research on it. We didn't know what was going on there, but I was being pointed in this direction. And then, Eric is a phenomenal chiropractor. If I may so myself, the best one on earth. I'm only slightly biased. But I see every single day how people get better. Miracles happen, but they're not miracles. They're the human body. And when you allow the human body to function, people get better, right? And so I kept my story private for many years. And when I graduated college, I was 89 pounds and I couldn't eat. And I would walk into doctor's offices and I was crying. I was just so upset because I was in pain. I was in so much pain every time I put food in my mouth, and I was losing weight and I was wasting away, and I didn't know why. And they looked at me and they said, well, you're a 20-something-year-old blonde cheerleader. You have an eating disorder. And it was so invalidating to my experience and my pain that I went through. And so it was up to me and Eric at the time to come up with solutions. We were seeing chiropractors, but we were on our own journey and we were figuring it out because there was no support available. So I kept all this private. It was like, that's my own story and people are going to think I'm crazy, and all of the things we think when we start living a natural lifestyle. But the more and more I got into it, the more and more our practice started growing, the more I saw more kids who were suffering the same exact story I suffered, whether it was the headaches or the gut problems or food sensitivities. Gosh, it breaks my heart when I hear a child walk in the office and the parent says, well, they can't eat 20 different foods and they're still having these problems. And I realized that I can't keep my story to myself anymore. And I started to share it. And I started to share it a little bit with caution and, the way we always do. And people resonated with. They're like, that is exactly what's happening to me. What did you do? And over time, it just snowballed where it was like I began creating a community of people who cared about this, who were not the way people say, oh my gosh, no one has ever listened to me or taken me seriously before. And all of this started to bubble up, and it was like, I've got to write a book on this. I've got to get this word out. Like, I am being compelled by this mission to serve others by not just sharing my story, but as a researcher, I went back and my friends joke with me because my pleasure reading is like in PubMed, reading peer-reviewed studies on bacteria and poop, but it's the sexy life of a gut health person, I guess. But really, it's like I feel compelled to this mission of I went through this, but just because I went through it alone, relatively alone, and figured it out, we now know so much more than we did back then. So knowing that we know so much more, not only about health and wellness and toxicities in our environment and the microbiome and the gut and all of this stuff, we now know so much more. Why are we not doing any better? Why are we still at the place we were 20 years ago? And that's just so unacceptable to me. And so, I'm driven by my passion, by sharing, by not watching other people go through what I went through, and also just my passion for, if we know better, why are we not doing better? And why is it sitting in some academic journal somewhere to cite in some other academic publication and not helping people? Because, isn't that what healthcare is supposed to be about, helping people?
Yeah, well, they say in United States, especially over the past 20 years, they have developed much, much more medicine that they have ever developed before. Yet, the population at large are sicker.
Right, right. We're
So,
sicker. We're taking more meds. Each person is taking more meds. And then we wonder why we have things like the opioid epidemic, where people are addicted to the medicines that they're taking. And we're never actually talking. We're afraid to even say the word cure, right? Like, I don't claim to cure anything. And I
mm,
even feel compelled to say it. We're afraid of health, because we were more comfortable being addicted to more and more, not addicted, that's the wrong word, reliant on more and
reliant.
more medications than we are to really step outside and say, maybe what we're doing as a healthcare system is wrong. And I want to put the caveat out there as I state this is that I'm not criticizing any individual doctor or any individual practitioner. I know, I collaborate a lot in mainstream medicine in this, in a lot of my work. I work with phenomenal people. There are wonderful doctors out there who are committed to service, to getting people well, and are trying their best. But when we have a broken system, then our best, it's just not good enough. Like, we still have to do better. And at some point we have to say, maybe the approach we're taking of just chasing symptoms, maybe it's wrong. And maybe we need to reevaluate our food system, our food supply. Maybe we need to reevaluate the toxic chemicals we're dumping in our foods, and the way that we are mass producing food. Maybe we need to look at these things. Maybe we need to look at the things we allow on our grocery shelves or in our cosmetic industry and start to say, maybe this isn't healthy for our body. So instead of chasing symptoms, why don't we, go downstream or go upstream a little bit and try to figure out why we're so chronically ill?
Interesting enough, today CBC actually had CBS, sorry, had a news clip on it that says that scented detergents or scented laundry products are all known to cause cancers, and they're carcinogen. In the back shelf sitting for a long time, and they never bothered to publish the study. The other thing is that our food sources have changed. We are not eating what we used to. Most often,
Right.
I'm sure your grandparents have told you that the fruit don't taste the same, or the bread doesn't taste like it
Mm-hmm.
used to be. And so in uh, the book that you have written, give us some conditions that you try to combat via food and via
Mm-hmm.
different intakes of
Yeah.
microbiomes that you have.
Yeah. So the things, it's such an interesting question because, and this was part of the challenge in writing the book. It's like, where do we even begin? Because every time I log in to find some articles or search what's most recently published in the realm of gut health, it's like it seems like every illness is in any chronic illness, non-communicable disease is associated with the gut in some way. So I'm talking things like type 1 diabetes. I'm not talking type 2. We could easily see how type 2 is linked to the gut and the foods we eat. But type 1, something that we associate with genetics completely, microbiome related, mostly all autoimmune conditions, gut related. And it's because of this, the way that we when we eat our food, only the nutrients are supposed to get into our bloodstream. But when we have gut health issues, whether it's an imbalance in what we call the microbiome, which is the good and bad bacteria and viruses and whatnot in our gut, or there's these little gate channels within our gut lining that allows more stuff to pass through. Our bodies respond. Our bodies are responding to stuff in our bloodstream that's not supposed to be there, and so it leads to many different conditions. So it could lead to autoimmunity, food sensitivities, many cancers, especially colorectal cancers associated with gut unhealth, mental illness, so depression, anxiety. 60 to 70% of our serotonin is in our gut. So when we think about depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, I mean, we think about schizophrenia as an organic. I'm a psychologist. I learned about schizophrenia. It's an organic disorder. You're born with it, or you're born with it plus this gut health stuff. It's really autism, ADHD, attention problems, sleep problems. I mean, you span the board, and it's really, we don't like to focus on any one. Eczema is a big one, but we don't like to focus on any one symptom because that's all the way downstream down here. So what we say is that all of these things down here, these are just signs that your body's not functioning right, that there's something going on. So instead of figuring out what this is and why this is unique and all of this stuff down here, go upstream, go figure out what's happening in your body. Is it a subluxation that a chiropractor could help? Is it a gut health issue where the food that you're eating is just not serving your body, and so your body is misfiring? Disease and chronic illness is just a misfiring, if you will. It's your body saying, this isn't right. Something's not right about me. So why is it not right? Well, what are you putting in your body? And what are you not putting in your body might be a better question. Are you eating real food? So we developed a gut happy system which has four parts to it. It's the identifying the true problem. So often in our society, we're used to the problem being whatever disease you have. So I have ADHD, I have autism, I have an autoimmune disease, I have diabetes or obesity, and we focus there, we stop there. Well, what's the true problem? The true problem is the root cause. It's most likely your
So
gut.
basically,
Yeah.
the stuff that you just named, they're all like the symptoms, and the true cause is something else.
Yeah, the true cause is way upstream. We're so used to living downstream here that
Mm-hmm.
we're missing that those are just, that's the effect. When your body is in a state of dis-ease, when your body is not functioning the way it should, then you have signs and symptoms of disease. But the disease isn't the problem. The problem is upstream. The problem is what caused the disease. It's that root cause.
Mm-hmm.
And chiropractors are the ones who know this the best because the whole notion of the brain connecting to the rest of the body is through the spinal cord. So chiropractors are, I am the biggest fan of chiropractic. I don't know how I would exist in my life without chiropractic because to me, gut health and chiropractic are so related because they're working on the same mission to address the underlying dysfunction within the body. And once you do that, the body wants to thrive. Health is our natural state. So when we get rid of all this other stuff, when we get rid of the stuff that is causing the problem, well, then we naturally thrive.
You know, in saying so, I have myself, I from sugar and any sorts of processed food as much as I can. And what happened was I came across, we were at the event and have it because it just damn looked good. But the next morning, my joints were stiff and I was just sort of out of it per se. So the food sources where we consume our food and where they come from are extremely important. Some of the food sources that we are allowed to eat in North America is disallowed in Europe because of all the
It's
GMOs.
shocking.
Mm-hmm.
It's shocking to me, and it's shocking the amount of resistance you get when you even suggest.
I think
I paused for a
you got.
second. People will ask me, what sort of diet, and there's so many fad diets out there and all of this stuff. And at its core, our diet is like eat real food and don't eat not real food.
Mm.
Like did it grow from the ground or was it alive at some point? Can you pronounce the phone is freezing for a second. All of this stuff, is it an actual food? Is it something that was alive? Did it grow? Can you pronounce it? Or was it created in a lab? Because if we could fool our eyes, we could fool. We could think a chicken nugget. It's not food. We can't fool our body into believing it. So one of the things I write about in the book, and this is pretty specific, but I just thought of it, is the way that all of the artificial sugars, so like sweet and low or, any of those types of artificial sweeteners, our microbiome, so all of the bacteria that live in our gut, they could tell the difference. So when we eat sugar and we hear sugar is bad for us, and it is, especially excessive sugar. But when we eat it, the bacteria in our gut respond in certain ways. Well, when we eat artificial sugar, which looks just like sugar, our eyes could be fooled, our taste buds could be fooled, but those bacteria, they're not fooled, and they respond in opposite directions. So the ones we don't want to increase in proportions, and the ones we want because we need them to survive, decrease. So it's a small example to show that just because we could fool ourselves into believing something's food, if it's not food, our bodies know, and it sets up a state of dysfunction. But yes, to comment on your comment about things being, we were just in a training program for EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, which is a little different of a topic, but they have 5G towers coming out all over the place and 5G spreading. There are so many other countries in Europe that have banned 5G because of the
Hmm.
direct health concerns, and yet they are popping up everywhere over here. Smart meters are going on everyone's water supplies, and it's just shocking how we're ignoring problems and then wondering why we're in a state of unhealth in our country.
I was in Germany and I was baffled. Some of the food that we commonly eat here, and it's on the top shelves on the supermarket, it would be hard to find anywhere in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find it. And when I asked the question, they said, no, no, there's a known fact GMOs in there and we do not sell those things. So I'm thinking,
It's depressing,
it
right?
is, it is. And, there's a common belief that we always say that the gut is our first brain,
Mm-hmm.
where most of the hormones and base of the hormones are digested, developed, and absorbed through the gut. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, say for let's take a condition for sake of argument, say IBS.
Mm-hmm.
What do you recommend for IBS?
So for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
for IBS too, we recommend identifying the true problem, which I said before, and then it's real simple. We say add the good. So what's the good? It might be some supplementation, healthy, real foods, things like bone broth. I'm a big fan of colostrum, bovine colostrum, because colostrum is our first food source. Colostrum is nature's superfood. It has all these immune factors and things that naturally seal the gut. There's a little bit of depth there, but it's naturally designed to do that. So if you think about a female cow out in a field, she's exposed to all these viruses, bacteria, etc. She's developing immunity towards them. When we drink that, we adopt some of that immunity. So adding the good, focusing on the good. What could we introduce to our body that's healthy, and removing the bad? So this is the piece that a lot of people forget. So people believe that they can out supplement an unhealthy lifestyle. You can't do that. Now, we recommend supplements. We recommend very specific evidence-based supplements that are shown to help the gut, but that's part of the toolkit. The other part is getting rid of the toxicities in your life, getting rid of GMOs, getting rid of EMFs, getting rid of their effects on you. I'm on a cell phone right now. You could
Mm-hmm.
live a normal lifestyle and do these things.
Yeah.
Fragrances, perfumes, cosmetics. What shampoos are you using? Do they have carcinogens in them? Across the board. So that's why we really talk about this as being a gut happy lifestyle, because it's not the fact that you could simply change your diet for a couple weeks or simply cut out gluten. We do recommend often cutting out gluten, but it's not that simple, because you can't, like I said, you can't out supplement an healthy lifestyle. So creating a lifestyle that supports health is the real key here. So we do use the various supplements that I said. We do change diets, especially cutting out gluten, which has a lot of detriments to people with IBS and other digestive problems. But it's really creating a world. We tell our clients all the time, it would be great. We want to educate you and empower you so you could never need us again. Our goal is not reliance on us. Our goal is, if we use a supplement or a diet, it's to kick you into gear, and then you create a life. You live a chiropractic lifestyle, so to speak, and you live a lifestyle that promotes health, and then you don't need to keep chasing symptoms. You don't need to even use the term IBS anymore, because you're living a lifestyle that prevents against that. The fourth part that is really important here, though, is getting support. We know that our communities are so mainstream and so used to not living this way that it's really hard to do it if you're not supported. And so finding pockets within your community, and Facebook is often great for that, for finding pockets of people that are living natural lifestyles, following people like you who are promoting a natural lifestyle, and just really connecting with the folks out there who are doing this, because it's easier when you have other people doing it with you.
I could have not said it myself any better than what you just said. The problem is that changing lifestyle does take commitment. And
Mm-hmm.
over the past 20 years, what I have seen in my practice is that commitment is the issue. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
loves to change stuff, but they want it done immediately.
Yep.
And you and I
Yep.
both know that lifestyle changes take time, and the
Mm-hmm.
payoffs are incremental. And it's if you keep doing
Yes.
it, it just benefits you for many years to come.
Well, listen, even I said, when I started this conversation, I said, "Hey, I was in fifth grade and I had these migraines, and we figured out they were related to food." And then, if you were listening closely, you heard me say, "Oh, and then in college, I had this problem again." Well, what happened between fifth grade and college? I knew that food was my problem, and
Hmm.
I still had a hard time committing to it, right? And it wasn't that I didn't know. It wasn't that I didn't want to. It was that it takes a while. And so, my words of advice to anybody listening is that give yourself grace. Give yourself grace to learn. You're not going to wake up one morning and live a perfectly gut happy lifestyle. There are things that I'm still learning about. EMFs, for example, they're new. 5G towers are new. So that living a gut happy lifestyle or a chiropractic lifestyle requires each and every day figuring out ways to add the good and remove the bad. It's about being a learning person, being the type of person who's open to doing things in a different way to maintain health, not simply knowing everything, doing it this way, and that's it. It's not a prescription bottle. It's not that easy, but once you get, it's also not that hard. It's hard to change, but once you're changed, it's actually not that hard because it's intuitive a little bit. Once you realize how good you feel, you could look at foods and say, I don't really want that food because I don't believe it's an actual food.
Hmm.
I am going to get some exercise because my body feels better. That it becomes a second nature. And so if you are listening to this and you're considering changing or it feels overwhelming, I hear you. It is. It is overwhelming because Google's filled with 1,000 different conflicting advice. Here's my suggestion: start with one. It doesn't matter if it's the wrong one, it doesn't matter if it's the right one, it's one. Remove one thing, change your shampoo, cut out dairy, cut out gluten, use a different makeup or burn a different candle. It doesn't matter what your one thing is, just do one thing this week, do one thing next week. If you do one thing and you realize it's absolutely terrible and there's no way you could possibly do it, give yourself grace and go back and try something new. And maybe in 5 years, you'll revisit it and you'll decide to change at that point. But just do one thing at a time. Don't allow yourself to be overwhelmed by it, because lifestyle is just a decision we make, not even every day, every minute of every day. We make small decisions, and every small decision we make is our lifestyle.
Well, there was a famous saying, and it said, "How do you eat an elephant?" And the answer was one bite at a time. So, in order to have
Exactly.
life changes, I always tell my patients that make small changes, but keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
Small incremental changes, which you know you can achieve, is the
Yep.
best way of making changes in your lifestyle, in your diet, exercise, everything that one would need to change. Now, uh, I know you guys are always up to something with your lovely husband. What's the next
We
new
are
thing that you
indeed.
guys have coming on?
Well, we have launched our Gut Happy Lifestyle communities. So if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I really want to connect, PM me and we could, hop on the phone. And I'm always looking to connect people to various communities and see what we could do. I've been talking about launching a podcast for probably 2 years now, and we've started podcasts more than we've ever, we've started a lot of podcasts. So actually launching a podcast I wrote a book before I launched a podcast, which is kind of backwards. So that is in our horizon. And then we also want to scale up by spreading the word to other doctors. So that's a goal for 2020 to really, we've worked with some other chiropractors in the past, and we really want to spread our gut happy lifestyle system into other chiropractor offices to reach more people and impact more people in lots of different ways.
Now, what's in the gut happy system that you guys have? Is there
Mm-hmm.
supplements,
Yeah,
products?
it is support is a big one. So we have an online virtual community where we do a lot of education. So we want our gut happy families to be the most educated people. So lots of education, lots of support supplements, and guidance for how to identify. We do some testing and some exploratory testing so people can understand their bodies individually. And also, support for adding the good, removing the bad. There's a dietary component, and some, just removing the bad and removing all the toxins in our life takes time. So we guide people through that and help people make the decisions for themselves about what's best for me and my health, what's best for my family. So, we have various ways we do that, but that's the basic premise of it.
Now,
And everything we do is evidence-based. It's not, like I said, I'm a researcher at the core, so
that's what I
everything we
was
do
gonna
could be
say.
cited back to some article somewhere. It's all solid empirical evidence that this is coming from. It's cutting edge most of the time with, new articles coming out, and we implement it to action, and we take data on everything. So,
Dr. Patrick Flynn always says that we as naturalists have been gifted this vision of looking at the same thing but from a different perspective.
mm-hmm.
And that different perspective gives us the power and ability of looking at the same problem and coming up with a different solution
Mm-hmm.
that does not include or does not involve just symptom control.
Mm-hmm.
Now, question that I have for you is, obviously there was a drive for you to write the book, and I know you
Mm-hmm.
have been in some speaking engagements which I watched, and well done. What is the drive that wakes Dr. Andrea up every morning and keeps you going?
Mm-hmm. So there's three. Their names are Blake, Luke, and Tyler, my three little boys. But it's true. I look at the world, that I look at their friends, and I don't know if, well, they have great friends, first of all, because they have a holistic mama who seeks out other holistic friends. We kind of live in a bubble, but we do, walk into the school's nurse's office. I don't know if you've been into a school's nurse's office lately, but there is a wall. I'm not talking a shelf. I'm not talking a closet. I'm talking an entire wall filled with EpiPens and antipsychotic medications and anti-seizure medications and everything under the sun. And I just think about the world that they're being raised in and my grandkids and what they're going to be raised in. And enough is enough, right? At what point do we say, because we're not just talking about physical health here, we're talking about emotional health, we're talking about mental health, we're talking about behavioral health. And when you look around our society, it's not working. What we're doing is not working, and it's not fair to them to have to clean up our mess. So my motivation, the thing that keeps me going every single day, is their generation. It's this notion that it's my responsibility and my duty to make this world a better place than the one I was given. And the only way this is the way I could do that. And so I'm committed, Eric and I, in addition to all of this stuff, are really interested in emotional health and social emotional learning, and how we teach our kids how to regulate their emotions. And all of this stuff isn't unrelated. It's all related to how we perceive our environments. But it's just so critical that my kids are raised in a place where there's community and there's love and there's understanding. And the norm is to be healthy and well adjusted, to be physically well and emotionally well and mentally well. And I can't think of a better reason to work than to make the world a better place for our kids.
Well done. Now, what's the topic and what's the name of your book? I have it posted, but I want you to say it.
When Food Hurts. And the subtitle, I don't think I could get it all, but it's the 4 steps to a gut happy lifestyle. And there's a really long subtitle in there.
Yes, it is. And this book can be purchased where?
On Amazon.com. You could purchase it on Amazon. And if anybody wants to talk to me directly, if you haven't caught on from this interview, I'm all about community and I'm all about support. So You don't have to reach out to me with the answers. I am okay with you not knowing that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be reaching out to me. So reach out if you're at all interested in our book, in our mission, in our anything that I've talked about. Please, I want to connect with you. I want to connect you to people who are like you, because I know what it feels like to be alone. I know what it feels like to not be supported. And I know what it feels like when people tell you you're crazy or, just suck it up. And that's not a solution to health. Sucking it up doesn't make you healthy. Being a champ doesn't make you healthy. So, it's my mission to connect people to people who listen. So,
One of the things I have noticed in the past 20 years that having any sorts of kids with issues and diseases and behavioral problems is one thing, but the parents, they themselves need support. They are I always think they're the forgotten part in the equation, that we try to look after the kids so much, we forget that the parents are affected directly and indirectly by what's going on with their kid. So obviously, gut health is very important for everybody, from kids all the way. I always say, if you have a spine, your gut matters. So
it's so true.
it's unfortunately just the way that we live. We are used to fast foods and instant gratification and wanting everything right now, and being used to that little pill that we can pop and get the whole thing better. It takes a while for life changes, and it requires dedication. Now, if I took you back to when you graduated, with all the stuff that you know now, imagine just coming out of school and knowing everything you know now. What would you do differently?
I would not be afraid to share my message. So, we go through school and we're indoctrinated into a certain way, and not a bad way. I had a phenomenal school and phenomenal training where we were taught specifically how to critically think and how to, for lack of better words, criticize each other in a critical friend sort of way, push each other to be better. But I was still afraid to speak my truth, because my truth is not one that is mainstream. My truth is not one that people like to hear often, because it changes the status quo, and that's scary to people. Commenting that our healthcare system is broken and simply seeking another prescription is doing more of the same. Commenting that our healthcare system is broken and we need a fundamentally different way to conceptualize health is pushing it forward more. And for a while, I was quiet about it, and I watched, and I told my friends. But now, looking back, I would be louder, faster. I would have found my voice and said, and have conviction in what I believe earlier on, because I see how people resonate with it, and I see how people's lives have been changed through it.
I mean,
and people's lives have been changed substantially. I mean, Eric just the other day had a child who was on medications, for the 5 medications slated for the rest of his life, and he's no longer on those medications, all because of gut healing at chiropractic. I mean, every single day we see these results that are just gigantic. Anyway, I'm on a tangent from your question. I just think I would speak my truth sooner.
To be honest with you, I'll tell you one thing. And when I started practice, I was all about athletes, and I seen some very high up athletes. I mean, Olympians and specific people who play NHL, NFL. And when my son, my first boy, was born, the minute I adjusted him, the whole paradigm changed for me. I don't know what happened, but just laying my hands on him changed whole chiropractic for me too. So from there on, I always said, I'd much rather see 1,000 little ones in my office. It would be a great day. And it has become my passion to trying to change the outlook for life with the little ones, so it
Yep.
affects the families as a whole. Anyhow, now, how people can reach you? Please give us a
Yes.
website handle.
Yes. The easiest way to reach us on Facebook would be facebook.com/Treehouse Living. So Treehouse Living is our brand that's all about reestablishing the joy in parenthood. And we talk about, it's a movement of parents who are interested in the emotional, physical, and mental well-being of the next generation. So you don't have to be a parent to be in that follow that page. We promote a lot of gut advice, gut topics, parenting topics as well. We also have some holistic parenting groups, but if you go to that page, that's the easiest way to, you could PM me. You could also just, friend me and PM me directly, but that page is the one where we get most of our information out, or I could redirect you to other places like groups where that we run.
Perfect. Thank you for your time. I certainly appreciate it. It took a while trying to get you, but I'm
But
grateful
we
that
got
you carved out
it.
some time for us. For our viewers, this was an amazing interview. Give us a like, give us a love, share. We are here for you. And if you have any question, please reach out to me or Dr. Andrea here. We'll be more than to help you guys out. Thank you again. We'll see you at some
Thank you
perfect
so
time.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.